He's Seth Wickersham, ESPN senior writer, and he's got a new book out. It's Better to Be Feared, The New England Patriots Dynasty and the Pursuit of Greatness. Seth, thanks for joining us. What was the toughest story in all of this to crack?
Oh, man, that's a great question. Thanks for having me. I think that the toughest story, and this may sound a little bit more thematic than specific, but it's trying to get inside how Bill Belichick and Tom Brady work on a day-to-day basis and try to diagnose and understand the key ingredients that have led to their greatness and this unprecedented run that they had together. And then also look at some of the costs of that greatness. I think that those were the things that I was trying to pursue as diligently as I possibly could.
Easier to get information on Brady or Belichick?
That's a great question. I'd say it's about the same. I mean, I wouldn't say it's easy, but again, I've been doing this for 20 years now. I've written many stories about Tom Brady. I've been at his house. I've been at his Super Bowl party. I've had many conversations with Bill Belichick. I know the people around them. I know the coaches on the staff. And so I just felt like that I could pursue this project with a lot of confidence and hopefully tell a story that fans like.
What's the story that you found out more information than previously believed or reported?
Oh, man. I mean, there's a lot of those things. You can go back to, Tom Brady's days at Michigan and the night that he was going to leave and what his therapist and counselor told him. The tension of 2017, which I obviously wrote a lot about the time. And, just learning a little bit more about, where that came from, how bad things got, how Brady said, I don't want to play for Bill anymore. And, how close it came to coming to an end there. And, the part of the book in a weird way that I like the best or that I kind of enjoy the most was the middle part, the 10 years that they didn't win a championship because they were achieving at such a high level and they were in such a cultural and, sports plateau, but they needed to figure out how to get the last percentage of a percentage better so that they could, go over the hump and finally win more Super Bowls rather than narrowly losing them to the New York Giants.
And you've said that you didn't interview Brady or Belichick for this book, but you have interviewed them down through the years. I give you one question for both of them. Let me start with Belichick. The one question you would ask for this book would have been what?
I think I would have asked if it's all worth it. I think that he's become the greatest coach in modern football history. And the casualty of his greatness has been a lot of relationships. You can talk about his relationship with Eric Mangini and how that fell apart when Eric left. And I detail a near fist fight at the league meetings between the two of them. And there's a lot of players over the years who obviously have come out of New England with a really bad taste in their mouth. And then obviously there's Tom Brady. And I think that while there's a lot of love between Brady and Belichick, I think that there's a lot of acrimony, especially on the Brady side, at the way that the past couple years, unfolded. And, that's what I would be curious how he would answer is, if those relationships are some of the costs of his greatness, how does he feel about it? And was it all worth it?
What would be the question you would ask Brady?
I've thought about this a lot, but I actually did ask it to him a couple years ago. And I asked him how long he wanted to live. Because if you look at the way that he's sort of evolved in celebrity, he's become this kind of figure that he's almost a member of like the global elite for whom, human longevity is human destiny. And so I did ask him at one point, like, how long do you want to live? And he had a really thoughtful and reasonable answer where he said, it's not necessarily about how long I want to live, even though he wrote an entire book about reversing the aging process, in his words. It was the quality of life and the fact that he wanted to go skiing and surf and do these things after football. And he was trying to have it all, and we'll see if he can have it all.
Yeah, but if I ask you, how long do you want to live, Seth? What are you going to say?
Well, I didn't write an entire book about reversing the aging process.
I know, but if I'm Tom, it's like I want quality of life. However long I live, I want quality of life.
Sure.
I've always been fascinated with a couple of stories. Was there a power struggle on keeping Jimmy Garoppolo, keeping Tom? Who had the final say? Did Brady go to Kraft and say it's me or him? Belichick hand-delivered Jimmy Garoppolo to Kyle Shanahan, making sure he didn't go to the Cleveland Browns. Help me understand all of that. Illuminate me on,
Yeah.
what is fact, what's fiction.
It takes a little bit of time, and I wrote about this a lot at the time. Look, after they beat the Falcons and they had won their 5th Super Bowl, the dynamics in the building just changed. And I think that, Tom Brady started to venture into other things. His TB12 business, he put out the book, he did Time versus Time. He wanted to be treated a little bit differently. And in the middle of it all, you had Alex Guerrero in this business that they were both trying to build together. And the fact that the things that they were saying were often at odds with what the Patriots doctors were saying. And so it was becoming this divisive force in the locker room. Belichick curtailed his access. I mean, think about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now. They give Alex Guerrero an office and they gave him a Super Bowl ring. Bill curtailed his access back then. And in the middle of it all, you had Jimmy Garoppolo, and the fact that Belichick has a lot of pride, and he always wanted to walk away from the Patriots with them set up long-term at quarterback, and he was deeply invested in Jimmy. At one point, when Jimmy played, he said, the transition between Brady and Jimmy is really seamless on offense. And there was just a lot of things coming to a head. And so finally, Jimmy got shipped. It was obvious that Kraft's loyalties were to Brady. And then that offseason, they lose to the Philadelphia Eagles, and Brady skips the entire offseason program. And so much reporting has come out about how he really didn't know if he wanted to return to the team, and in fact, kind of wanted to be released.
Okay, but did he go to Kraft and say, it's either me or Garoppolo?
Well, I don't know, but Tom Brady didn't get Jimmy Garoppolo traded. I think that it was so obvious that Kraft had stated publicly and privately that Brady had earned the right to walk away on his own terms. And even if Bill was invested in Jimmy, Tom was making it very hard for him to get on the field. They share an agent, Don Yee. There was just a lot of things that were closing in, and Bill was kind of backed into a corner. And so, yes, he calls up Kyle Shanahan. I think it was on Halloween morning, maybe it was the day before, and offers Jimmy, straight up for a 2nd-round pick.
Belichick has since come out and said, when the book has been mentioned, that 2nd, 3rd, 4th hand news. It feels like information may be coming from Brady's side more than Belichick's side. That probably doesn't take long to go through the Rolodex of Belichick and who he trusts and who would have information here. Is that a fair assessment on how I'm reading who's saying what to whom and when and why?
It's a fair assessment of I think what came out in the news story, but most of the book is not that way. I mean, 95% of the people that I talked to for the book are on the record and they're primary sources. And the few that I needed to grant anonymity to are the people who had firsthand knowledge of key meetings or dialogue that was said. And so I think with the newser, it definitely, some of the news that came out definitely came out that way. But, specifically with the main anecdote from the news story about Tom Brady and at Robert Kraft's house and telling Robert Kraft he's not going to resign with the team, he wanted to go tell Bill in person, and Bill was unavailable. And, he told a confidant, a very close friend, he thought that was telling of the state of their relationship. Brady didn't deny that yesterday. I mean, Tom is 44 years old and he's good. He figured out a way to thread that needle where he didn't deny it, and he didn't really give anything away either. And, like I said, I did the best I could to try to show this relationship, show their greatness, and show the cost of their greatness.
We're talking to Seth Wickersham, ESPN senior writer, author. The book is available nationally on Tuesday. It's Better to Be Feared, the New England Patriots Dynasty and the Pursuit of Greatness. I've mentioned this story to my audience a couple of times when I interviewed Brady prior to the Super Bowl with the Eagles. And towards the end, I said, do you think you and Bill will ever get together and reminisce? And Brady, in a moment of truth, said, no. Like he couldn't believe that I was asking that, almost like no, are you kidding me? That's not what our relation. Now he didn't say that's not what our relationship was about, but that's really how I read it. He's like, no, and I don't know if he caught himself where he gave me what I thought was an honest answer at the time, instead of saying, well, I hope so, and we will open up the scrapbook, and we have so many great memories. He just went, no. Would you say that sums up the relationship between these two, that they're not taking a trip down memory lane anytime soon?
Not anytime soon, but I still think that even if they get on each other's nerves, And there's some acrimony, I think, especially on the Brady side right now, over how things ended in New England the past few years. But I think that there's a love there, and I think that that's really important. And as different as they are from a personality standpoint, they have a couple key traits that are almost completely aligned. And I think that one of them, they are steadfast optimists. They kind of come at it from a different angle, but nobody in NFL history has believed in the power and the possibilities of the next play like these guys. I mean, no matter what has happened, they're able to focus on what's in front of them. And you see it play out on these international stages where Brady rallies the team from 28-3 down. And a year before, another brilliant goal line stand by a Belichick defense. I mean, nobody like these two guys, they refuse to concede an inch to anybody else's idea of the inevitable.
I wonder if they get blown out 42-10 by the Falcons. Does Bill move on from Brady sooner?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that there's a strong likelihood. One of the things I get into in the book is I think that one of the things that reignited their dynasty was in the Baltimore divisional playoff game in 2015 when they were down 14 points in the third quarter, and they unveiled that the Baltimore and the Ravens funky formations that completely baffled the Ravens, and it got New England back in this game. And if they had lost that game, I don't know what would have happened. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo had just finished his rookie season. Would they have moved on from Brady right then? But instead, they unveiled this classic formation that completely befuddled the Ravens, got them back in the game, and it really reignited the entire dynasty and led to those 3 more Super Bowls.
You want to get in on the pregame bet? Is there a hug? Is there a handshake? Is there any contact whatsoever between Brady and Belichick?
So I would bet, and I'm not a bettor, but I would bet that there will be a pregame hug because there'll be too many cameras after the game. And I think they'll both do it because they know that it's in their best interest to do it. And I often wonder, look, I mean, Brady's going to be so focused and so keyed up for this game, whether they will try to show him so much love at that stadium, like a video tribute, whatever, to kind of throw him off.
Oh, I would. Right? Absolutely, Seth. I would make him cry.
The Colts did it with Peyton Manning. When he came back as a Denver Bronco, they did this big tribute to him, and he started crying during pregame warmups. And so, I absolutely think that's the best way to try to throw Brady off.
Great to talk to you, Seth. Congrats on the book, and good luck with the sales.
Thanks, man. I'll talk to you.
That's Seth Wickersham. The book, It's Better to Be Feared, The New England Patriots Dynasty, The Pursuit of Greatness, released nationally on Tuesday, October 12th.